So, but we're gonna start a motion.
Yeah.
Without him,
That on advice this time.
if we,
Roll
that
over
okay?
again. Is what I get.
It is.
Well, we have quorum. By the time we just get through the minutes,
Sure. Yeah, cause you're gonna,
slowly get to the delegation.
yeah,
And then I froze and got rolled over. Like,
so you have Alana tonight and she's live, she can hear you.
I was rolling.
I don't know if you can see me. We're such a little. Okay, and who else is on?
Hi,
Susan's on and, oh, Tricia.
and Trisha's there, and, okay. Trisha and a member of the.
public.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
You can hear me?
Perfect.
And then, can you guys just confirm who all's in the room with you there for me?
we have Diana, so Director Lockwood, Commissioner McInnes, and Commissioner Ellis.
Okay.
And Commissioner Chu is on there.
Thanks very much.
And Alana, you'll see, I think I can hear him. There he is.
Hear me.
I thought I could hear a whistle or something out there.
You did actually.
That's it, pretty good.
I know I was a lot, but that's the show.
That's okay. My dad does too.
Except, and then you don't hear me whistle. Anyway.
And Director Cunningham.
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna start. We've got Director Cunningham's joined us now. Elena? Okay. So I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 7:00 whatever. 7:02. We acknowledge and respect the Indigenous people within whose traditional lands we're meeting today. The agenda for the September 8th, 2025 Recreation Commission number 7 meeting be adopted as circulated.
So.
Any questions, errors, or omissions? All in favor?
Hi.
Carried. Okay, receipt of the minutes. Do you have anything on the minutes that you have any comment on? Hearing none, we'll move on. So just for a little explanation, we have the climbing wall, one of the climbing wall people with us today, and they were going to do a delegation for the commission tonight, but if they did a delegation, then we couldn't make a decision tonight. And so what I would like to do is we'll go through this, and if everybody would be good with us opening the floor for any questions that the commission has, then we can, if everybody's good with that. So if we could give Todd Van to start, sorry, freedom of the floor. Okay. Anybody else want to second it?
Yes.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. So, how do you want to do this? So I think that what we'll do is the Salmo Climbing Society is asking for $5,000 of the granting money, and we have 2 intakes. Andrew, this would be your first time going through an intake. We have 2 intakes a year, spring and fall, and we divide them up. We have $10,000 in a year, and we give 5 in them if people apply. And I don't think we had anybody apply this spring. And so we don't combine them, we keep them separate. So, and the Salmo Climbing Society is looking at the $5,000. Can we maybe get a little overview Do you have a question?
Yeah, can we open the floor to questions? And others? Go ahead, give an overview. I know exactly what the wall's all about.
Yeah. Okay, Steve.
Yeah, it just, Commissioner Chu hasn't been at a couple of the meetings about the walls, and so maybe it would be, or Commissioner Ellis, so maybe it would be a good little overview for everybody.
Right.
Give me a couple minutes.
So yeah, I guess the first thing to cover, the structure of the organization is a not-for-profit. All of our fundraising has been through grants, community fundraising, local businesses. It's going to be situated in the community center, the old art room. So it's a 18-foot ceilings. It's made for climbing. It's a beautiful space. Comprise roughly 75 feet of linear climbing surface, 14-foot high walls, with padding underneath. So with bouldering, it's a type of activity where you can come in, just put on climbing shoes, pull on these plastic holds on set problems, we call them. And you can come in with like a low barrier to access, minimal fees. It's going to be through a membership model. So you're going to be signing up to be able to come in and scan your key fob, come into the room, access, climb, integrate with the community, meet new people, and hopefully it'll serve as a great place to kind of build that culture within Salmo. It's going to be open year round, kind of mirroring what the community center has for hours currently. Beyond that, we're hoping, and we're really excited to start like youth programming, after school programs, climbing team. It's going to be excellent, particularly for the youth of the community, but also for adults alike. So I have young ones. I'll be going there regularly to climb with them, and I think it'll be great for all ages, across a broad spectrum. Currently, where we're at in our timeline, our builder is coming in within, I think, 2-3 weeks from now, and he's going to get started. So basically what it'll look like, he'll frame up a wall. It'll be a self-contained climbing surface, so it's not going to be attached onto the building itself. And then we're hoping, if everything goes smoothly through the build, we're looking at December, January as operations, as likely opening the doors to the public. To cover kind of a broad overview and our structure and what the facility will look like.
Good.
Questions? Sure. How many members do you have?
Members of the society, we have 136. And that's like our email list. So they've paid a donation to become a lifetime member. Essentially, that's kind of pulling from a volunteer pool, keeping them updated. Operationally, we're expecting somewhere in the range of 50 to 70 kind of at any given moment. That's our calculations for break even and pricing and so on.
And what's the total cost of the project to build?
So to reach operational status, it'll be roughly 75,000. We've been looking at a budget between 75 and 85, depending on how many kind of donated holds we get. Those are actually the most expensive part, and they add a lot of quality to the experience of going and pulling on high friction holds versus older, well-worn holds. We'll get new holds as we go through the years.
Understood.
Do you have any more questions?
Well, no, it's all right. I do have another question, but let's somebody.
Does this,
Yeah.
you have a permanent supervision with client?
So there'll be, the process will be, you'll have an onboarding process. You have to sign your waiver, go through like the fall technique and everything. There will be specific days that there will be staff there for drop-ins and community days. But the intention is that, because it's volunteer run entirely, we won't have somebody there on any given moment. It's going to be the key fobs to be able to get access, and those fobs will have to be purchased with the membership and waiver and everything.
insurance?
Insurance, that'll be a big expense. We've had our conversations with them already. We have the 4 to 5 week lead time before we put that in place.
Do you have another
How many
question?
dollars?
Sorry.
How many dollars do you expect to pay per year?
In insurance, they gave us a quote somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000 per year.
That's part of it.
Do you have any questions? Susan, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I don't. I'm actually somewhat aware, fairly aware of this through my other hat with the community center. So this has been a project that staff at the center has been involved with for quite a while now, several months, if not almost a year, I think, even. We might be coming up to a year this fall, I think. Yeah, I mean, there are obviously still some logistics to sort out, but it's something that's well supported by the mandate of the center and the information we have around what community would, that the youth support for this project. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I had a few questions, but you've answered most of them. The hours, when you say that nearing the fitness center, not the community center?
Sorry, the community center, I was just using it interchangeably, but
Okay, so, but not the fitness center.
not the center. No.
Okay. That's good clarity, because I thought I had read that it would be, or somewhere, that it was more the fitness center. So, what kind of hours does that look like? Because I don't have a clue when the community center is open for.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't tell you the exact hours. We explored with Laura the option, this has to be worked through with her, but find a way to lock the doors in the youth lounge and be able to get access even outside of the community center hours. But this is something that's early. That could involve a key fob on multiple doors in. So that wouldn't tie the climbing center to those hours completely. And you can program the fobs to whatever you want. So 24-hour access or only getting in at these different times on these days. And blocking access when the youth group is there and so on. So it's those fobs are an elegant solution in our mind. There'll be logistics moving forward, obviously Susan's referring to, but we're all motivated to work together to make it happen and be accessible to the community as frequent as possible.
So with it being a community or volunteer base, is there somebody at the end of the, like say if it closes at 8 o'clock, that somebody goes in to make sure that there's nobody laying there, or like how does that happen?
So that would be through our insurance. We've had those discussions, and effectively they want to have an SOS button that satisfies their requirements for that. I know the world doesn't all revolve around just what insurance companies want. There's common sense behind that as well. So that's a good point that we can look into strategies that would be definitely satisfy kind of the common sense side of that.
In our agenda, we have a discussion coming up about hours at the fitness center and that we've changed them and stuff like that. And so that's why I'm asking of those kind of things is tying it to the fitness center hours in some sense also allows the youth that we've changed hours. Is it a way of getting the youth in there before the fitness center? And because my phone has been ringing off the hook, so this is why I'm bringing this up, but it will come up. So that's why I'm wondering about the hours, is how do you tie it also to the fitness center in order to give those youth that are looking for something to do from 3 to 4 of the fitness, and it might bring them into doing that kind of activity and then maybe going into the fitness after that.
That sounds like exactly kind of where we'd like to fit, is like being able to buffer that need as hours change, and especially as it relates to youth, like being able to serve that population. So understanding and getting that information from you guys and from the community is really important to us. But yeah, from an operational standpoint, that's where we'll try to fit.
Okay. So does that, Director Cunningham?
Yeah, so in other words, we're gonna do this like the same way as we do this swimming pool, we'll set hours, so you'll set hours and make sure that these things mesh and we'll change them as they need. And as you should, we've got more and more coming, I guess you expand the hours unless you want to contact them, so but. Yeah. Good. Thank you, I just wanted confirmation of that, but I was pretty sure that was. And I have another question statement.
Go ahead.
No? Okay, first of all, yeah, let's get back to the money question.
Mhm.
How close were you to your goal?
Unfortunately, we just learned we didn't get our Canada Post grant, which is 15,000, so that's become a hole. So we are at a point now with our funds. Currently, we can get the wall built. Okay, so we can get the wall built with CBT support, which we anticipate to the order of 20,000. We're meeting with Aaron next week.
That was my next question.
Yeah, meeting with him on Friday, and then that will give us kind of the very, very clear picture of where the pieces lay on finances. But essentially, we can get the wall built. There'll be padding. How many new holds we get, that's kind of where our buffer is financially. Like I'm making a personal donation of all my leftover holds, and we've amassed a lot of holds. The quality of them to the climbing fanatic, it wouldn't be a top quality, high friction hold. Yeah, for reference, like the small little hold that you grab onto, like a little jug, that's $30. So they're extremely expensive.
Yeah. But the sport, I really like the sport. Not that I'm in good shape to do it, but that's not the point. Okay, and so I don't know what the commission is going to choose tonight, but I would suggest that if the commission agrees with what is suggested, that's good. But if you contact me, I'll throw an additional $5,000 towards it. So you can go when you go to Bucks McCall, Aaron, say to them, you can include at least my amount and also your amount, because I believe they pay about 60% or something of the total.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
Use it as a negotiating item, of course. And I'm suggesting that to you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Nothing, anything for you, Susan? Any more? You didn't have really any questions because you're quite well aware. Thank you. Okay, so that we've received their application, that the board approve. Well, approve the payment of the following grants for the Rec Commission number 7, 2026 budget, Salmo Climbing Society, $5,000. Would anybody?
I'll move that. Let me see, is this the one that's written here? Board approves the payment of the following grant from the Rec Commission budget to the Salmo Climbing. Yes,
Sorry, there's a mistake.
that's what I was asking. Thank you.
It says 2026.
I didn't know if that was,
Yeah, we've got money in 25. We can do it again in 26 if we need to. Yes. Good. Well, sometimes nobody applies for grants, and sometimes we've got 6 or 8 people applying for a very limited amount of funds.
does anybody else? Okay. Discussion on the $5,000. That means that we still have the other $5,000 this year that will go into reserve or maybe into helping with some finances. Anything else?
No question.
All in favor? Anybody opposed?
Chair, I think I should probably recuse myself from this vote.
Through the chair, you're not in a conflict. It's up to you, though, Susan.
Okay,
Is-
if I'm not in a conflict, that's great. Thank you for the clarification.
It's not directly benefiting you or the society. It isn't in the society's building, but it's going to a completely different entity.
Then I vote in favor. Thank you.
So no opposed, carried. So this will have to go to the board, and that will be the third week. I think it's the 21st, something like that, of September. And then-
Victoria.
Oh, okay, so then it's next week.
It's
It's
next
next
week.
Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday. And once it gets approved there, then they'll cut the check. My question would be is if you guys ended up getting a bunch of no's for grants, where does that put you? Because if is there a point where you guys go, no, this is not feasible to continue?
No, at this point,
Okay,
we are full steam ahead.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
there's,
so it might just take longer to get to the goalpost if you didn't get the rest of the grants.
I think we're still looking at January.
Oh, okay.
All things in line as it is, contingent on CBT, but that'll be the big player, which
Let us know as soon as you.
Okay.
Without-
I can always push Aaron a little bit. They're really generous when you talk to them.
yeah.
Beg and say you're poor, you know.
Yeah.
Children have no toes, etc. And they really don't have. And they pay as much as they like to pay around 60, but they'll pay as much as 80 if you ask me.
Okay. That's good information. We value your wisdom here.
So through the church, just to make sure, Andrew, it's Salmo Climbing Society.
Yeah.
Address is that address?
Yeah, we'll use the next. Yeah.
Just so the formality stuff that we're gonna get asked.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and being able to go over it like this instead of doing it the other way.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Just a point, have you tried Legion and other places for requests for funds?
No, the Legion hasn't been on yet. Thank you.
And the lines, the service clubs,
Okay.
right? You have to write letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're getting used to that.
And the credit union.
Yeah. Credit unions
And the generous.
are, that's one of the ones that's actually not in the budget. That's possible
Real
upcoming. They didn't list their
estate
infrastructure. grant.
foundation for that. Real.
Real estate.
Because anything that improves Salmo by having more services is something that they're usually done.
Okay. Real estate.
Western Financial,
Yeah,
you got them.
they're a possible infrastructure grant for 5,000. We just learned about, so it's exciting too.
Money's flowing.
Okay,
Hold up the bucket.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good for you.
Right.
thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
You're allowed to stay and hang out with
Stay
us,
for the rest of the meeting.
or you're,
Or you can- Else and cheer as you go. Hey, we'll catch you later.
Thanks, everybody.
You will.
thanks, Doc. Okay, we'll move on to establishment bylaw changes.
Yeah, so through the chair, the board reports weren't ready yet. But at the board, there will be 2 bylaw amendment reports and 2 amended bylaws. One for the Recreation Commission number 7 and one for the Salmo. The intent of last spring was that we looked at combining those into one. So what happened was logistics and time with administrative staff and corporate. So my concern was going into 2026 and beyond without having adjusted those the requisitions. So this next step is really an intermediary step where they're increasing the requisition limits as per the authority under legislation by the maximum amount. And so Tom Dool is writing that report, and you will have that in your in your board agenda
And that's
package.
and it can't be changed for 5 years once it's done. Is that still in the regulation?
That's correct. So it can only be done every 5 years, but that doesn't impact the other work because you're going to change this requisition amount. Then the next step is really about combining those two bylaws. So just what makes that process a little more complicated, it would have been easy because they're the same taxpayers, but we have different percentages in there. So then that's going to require more. So what it is that, sorry, for those not familiar with those bylaws, in most cases, most regional district bylaws that are based upon assessment, it's just the total assessment of the service area equals the maximum requisition. And then you can budget up to it and you budget a tax requisition below it. Sorry for some reason, I think it's the smoke. So in this case though, and I'm hoping that I'll get a little history lesson tonight, just so that I can bring back the information to Tom. But in this particular establishment, or both of these establishment bylaws, there are percentages. So we're just going to say if the requisition was 100,000, one of them, I can't remember the exact percentages, but they're not. There's actually a percentage in there.
It's not per thousand.
It's not per. It's per thousand when it goes out, but it has to be calculated separately. So, for example, one I believe is 55/45, and I believe the other is close to 60/40.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, that's actually a fundamental change to the establishment bylaw. So that's not just the same as going and asking for the increase. So the municipal act allows us, or the community charter, allows us every 5 years to revisit what the maximum is allowable under the bylaw. But when you start fundamentally changing where that taxation is, that requires other approvals and requires some background information. So that's the reason why that process was a little more complicated than we had originally anticipated.
Yeah, if I may. Yeah, the thing with the province is that we can tax a certain amount, and that's the maximum. But we don't always, when we pass that, we don't always, we're given the power to go to the maximum. We don't do that. We spread that over years, sometimes 10, 12 years. Or if you've got a fast growing service, you have to spread it out over at least 5 years. Or you can go to the maximum next year and keep it there for the next 4 years. But really, it's up to us. But when we say, okay, the maximum is now $200,000, that does not mean we're going to tax $200,000. It just means we have the power to go that high. If we've got a big project or something like that, and we think that people would like to support that, yeah, we can go that high. But it doesn't mean, just so you understand how that funding system works. Yeah, and also, yeah, the inspector of municipalities has something to say. Is he still around?
Yeah,
yeah.
the position definitely is.
Yeah, I've gone through a number of inspectors. Some of them were pretty good. Anyway, yeah, so the thing is, yeah, that will have to be checked. And the percentage were originally set up when we set up the service, and part of it was before my time, was because things like the swimming pool, of course, is a society. Still a society? No more a society. So we'll no longer be able to go to lotteries and ask them for money.
No. Yeah, correct.
I don't know, I like that, because lotteries threw in a fair amount of money every year.
They did not want to continue on as friends of the swimming pool, the people that were the society.
Yeah, I know that, but I thought maybe we'd get some new friends, especially when it meant that all we had to do is go and ask for money.
Yeah.
Nobody came forward. I put it in the paper a few times.
So through the chair, answer is the percentage, was that based on population of the day
That's based upon users when we first started. We're talking about.
So there was some calculation of
Yeah, it was
users.
a calculation of users, basically, of those in and out of area G, went from the village, so much in area G. And that was the percentage they used. Because if you got, say, 60, because it's mainly most of the recreation is done within this area. It was not, but in fact, the people who use it the most should be paying the most, one way or another, and that was the way it was done. But very often we found out that the opposite is true. So I don't know, what's the percent right now?
I believe one is 45%, 55%, and the other is something like 60-40. If they were the exact same number, we could have even moved forward, but they're actually different numbers. Yeah. Yep. So we were, Tom and I were, I mean, there's no history left of what that, other than you, other than what that decision, of why that was.
That's why it was done, because at that time we had less in the way of facilities, and most of our rec things were done because we used the schools for, we basically leased the schools for our rec facilities and things. And that has changed, of course, because in a lot of things, and we've expanded the number of things we do and the ways in which we do them, and the whole pricing things were changed. Now, as far as two things. Number one, whether the number of users from the village, let's say that 80% is worth it from people in the village use it, and 20% of the people in area G use it. Those numbers could be the same, because based upon, and the other thing is, when you do use it, you're using it every day of the week, or you're using it once a year, so those kinds of things are getting nebulous. And quite frankly, I'm almost ready to say, why don't we just do a once overall thing? But I need to know if there's a great disparity in of numbers, because as long as the dollars are fairly useful and easy, because things have changed over the years.
Yeah, and through the chair, that's the idea, is that we'll do that full report on what that would look like. It's just that process, in order to have it completed for 2026, wouldn't.
You're going to have
it wouldn't get it.
I have no problem with that. But there are, like I said, like when we're talking about the rec center, when that referendum went through, it turned out that the people in area G, 80% voted in favor. And the people in the village were less enthusiastic. I think it was almost 55 or 60% voting in favor. But it shows you where the interest, sometimes the people, shows you where the interest is. Also shows you where the ages are, because if the village has an aging population, maybe they're less involved in this kind of thing. And, if the younger people are out in area G, they would be probably more involved in these kinds of things.
I don't know about the fitness center, but with the pool, I do know some of the history was that when Ole Jensen donated the land for the elementary school, and the school board got the land where the pool and the tennis court is. They got that land in the understanding that the school kids were going to be able to have access to the tennis courts and swimming lessons for whatever. And I do know that some of the pool, but that was when it was a society, is that the village of Salmo was part of that school, that transaction of land. And it was taxes that the village was not getting. So I think that's where that difference in percentage.
So some kind of calculation.
Yeah. And of course, nobody knows what that calculation or wasn't. I don't believe nothing was written down back then. It was a handshake. That sounds like that's a great deal. Let's go.
Well, the money for the swimming pool was raised by the weekly bingos, and it was thrown in by in 1967 on the 100th anniversary. There was a big grant that was together with the bingo money allowed the thing to be built, and And that's all good, and the community has supported it ever since. But the whole thing is, well, yeah, I'd like to play with the numbers sometime and see what they are, and maybe we can make some kind of arrangement to make it simpler. That's all, because let's face it, as times change, we may have more aging people outside and younger people inside. And there may be a greater need here than there is there. I don't want to know these things.
You know, and through the chair, I think that's where I think our biggest mistake sometimes when we set establishment bylaws is thinking that whatever the moment of the day is will be the same in 30 years. And I think that's the number one question to ask is that a metric that will be true in 30 years? You know will be true. And if the answer is no, it's probably a metric that shouldn't be used into something like an establishment bylaw.
However, it seemed like.
But it's there now.
The district was new at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, because the district was formed in '66. So we're, new at the time and had very little experience with, well, with this kind of thing. And as it matured, we learned more and more about how these things were done. But at the time, there were all sorts of services that wanted to climb on the bandwagon because it was the only way they could be financed.
Yeah.
And that was the exact reason for creating regional districts in the first place.
Absolutely understood.
Okay, does any of you guys have any questions on this establishment bylaw? Yes, Susan.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, I think I heard somebody ask, but I don't know if I heard the answer. Does what we if we put something in place for this or agree to something tonight, it's binding for the next 5 years? Is that correct?
Just the total amount. So our bylaws always read that when you're taxing, it has to have a total amount, like an end amount. So I'm just going to use numbers. We can only tax $1,000. So if we tax $1,000, we have to spread that over 5 years, or we could give the whole $1,000, but we have no room left to give any more up until the 5 years. And then in 5 years, you renew that establishment bylaw and you add maybe another $1,000 onto it. So that's helpful. Thanks. I didn't quite hear the answer there. And then the other question I have is, I know that we don't have a Friends of the Pool Society currently, but does that mean we couldn't have one in the future?
No, through the chair, no, it does not.
Okay.
And I just want to there's not to be very clear. So there's not an automatic review of the establishment bylaws. So it's just that you can only do it every 5 years. So for example, these bylaws have been in place for a very long time and haven't required a change to them. So they haven't required a change to the maximum requisition. What's driving that change to the maximum requisition is in particular is the pool operation, and the fact that we have back in when we finished the report was covered, we had about $1.1 million of capital work to do, which the work that we did in 2023 opened in 2024. That was the mechanical part of that work, which was about $150,000 of the most critical parts, but there's still significant work to do. So that's the reason why, is because I think Chair Lockwood hinted at it a little bit about reserves. Right now, the service doesn't have reserves, so it's we're vulnerable to major things going in the pool and not being able to fund.
Okay, clear as mud.
it would be really nice if we could go to the trust and say, listen, such and such pump is broke down. We really need money. Could you help us with 60% of $300,000? But we can't do that if we're not a society.
Yeah, but through the chair, not to forget that the trust funded $120,000
Well, I'm not denying that.
of the mechanical, and they're starting to change their tune on that a bit. And what they're changing is that they will not do fund maintenance or regular wear and tear.
Or operations.
Yeah, or operations, but they will fund capital.
That's right.
So that they will do that. But I just think what the trust often looks at to us is their question, just like you said to sorry, Todd, was I will commit this much, and if you let the trust know that, that often influences their decision. It's the same thing with us. If we say we have a $500,000 project and we have $100,000 to put forward to it, that influences the trust decision because they see that there is a commitment from the regional district for maintaining. So it just like it's not a blackout on the trust. The trust has been incredibly generous to our services.
We have
all capital projects.
Very nicely all the time.
Yeah.
My next question along the same line, are there grants from any of like federal government kind of things? Are there some grants available for this kind of thing?
So yeah, it's called Community Works. Yeah, sorry.
Which
So
I'd love to do, except
Yeah.
you know what happened to my community works.
yeah, but you got water systems.
Oh, I'm not worried about the water system. They could take that themselves.
But so there's community works, and I believe I even wrote it in the report for the SPF funds. I was trying to marry the pool project and the South Spokane redevelopment into a bigger application for strategic priority funds. But it just didn't weigh out as important as the SPF funds that's right. And we shouldn't even say the SPF funds that were awarded, just the applications that we said could make, the projects that we said could make SPF applications.
Okay.
You gotta learn how they talk like they're really, really poor.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you. So I find it interesting that the trust is moving away from supporting operations. My experience with other large infrastructure funds is that they actually have been making the opposite switch, understanding that in the nonprofit land in particular, it's very, very challenging to meet the operational costs, even more so than the capital costs can be at times. The experience is that it's often easier to go to a community or other stakeholders for that capital investment as opposed to the ongoing operational funds. So that's disappointing to hear the trust is doing a 180 the other way. And it leads me to my question around, have we ever looked at the numbers that show us what sustainable operational funding looks like?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to clarify, CBT has never done the operations. They've always stayed away from that. They will not fund operations. They've always done capital. That is their big thing. The one thing that they are switching a little bit to, but it's still capital, is housing, where they never used to fund to build housing, and now they're funding that to build some housing. But operations, what they have always said is if you're going to build it, you better make sure it's sustainable, because we will not continue to fund it to keep it going. So something like our youth center, and we get funding for the youth, that is something that's always in that area where they're like, So do we keep funding youth? They think it's very important to fund youth programs, and that's why they fund that. But they wouldn't fund adult programs or to run the fitness center. Like they wouldn't do that, but we could, if there was a grant available, go and try and get the grant to get fitness equipment or mechanical stuff for the pool. But to actually pay for staff to run the pool, they wouldn't do it.
And
Okay,
Susan,
I appreciate, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so Susan, so in particular, what they're saying is you've already gone to the public has already said they want these services and they're willing to be taxed for them. We will not use our funding to replace that taxation.
That's right.
So in particular, when it comes to local governments, there's a very firm line there. And where with local government in particular, it's capital projects almost exclusively.
And so have we ever modeled out what sustainable operational revenues look like?
Through the chair, you see that in every budget.
Mhm.
But the big thing that we haven't modeled out in Rec 7 yet, because there is no room to model it out, so I can't present a budget that's above the establishment, above what can be requisitioned, is the long-term asset management. So that would
Yeah,
be,
and yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? At what point do we future forecast and start really getting clear around what is this going to take?
yeah, so through the chair, that's the report from Cover in 2021, 2022. That's what the work was based on in 2023.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. It's been a while since I looked at those reports. My understanding about those reports is they weren't looking at operational, they were just looking at that capital refit.
Sorry, so that's the part that we're talking about. The asset management piece is what's not funded.
Yeah.
Operations is funded year to year.
Through the commission, but we keep coming up short, right?
No, you're not short. But the reason that we're doing this is because we have no money through the
We're up to the ceiling.
we're at the ceiling and we have no money in reserves to be able to consider doing those large projects. So even this year, all of the change cubicles have to be redone in the pool, and we were moving money around to make that happen. So it's just that it's not happening in a way that we can say we are 10% funded or 25% funded. So we don't have the money in the budget to leverage other grants. Because usually to get grants, you need to leverage it with some amount of money of your own.
And so that's the purpose of what we're talking about tonight.
Correct. So all we're talking about tonight is not that financial plan. It's just the establishment bylaw, which allows a certain ceiling for requisition. And what particularly what Hans and Diana have been trying to say is it doesn't mean that we go to that ceiling.
Right, yeah.
We're not even at, not at that ceiling even right now, but it just gives us the room so we can start making that plan to include that.
The charter of the trust, by the way, says that they're not supposed to use money for operation. Yeah. Because the charter actually says that we can't give money out for things that should be funded by taxation. So to operate the pool, for example, is funded by taxation. You can't use trust money or us for that kind of funds.
So I'm just going to use the swimming pool one. We can only, if this is the last one. Yes, this is the last one. So it was done in 1995. Was the last time that we've changed the thing, and it was we could tax up $19,500 or 0.164 cents per thousand. So that's what he's saying is in order for us to tax $25,000, we need to increase that limit because that's what we're at. So that's just for the swimming pool. Then we have the fitness center on top of that. And we don't talk about the youth center because it's not part of this commission, but that's another, like if we actually would have didn't accept that building, we would have a 30-year-old building now that would have been paid for and would only be 30 years old instead of we have a building that's, I don't know, 80 years old or whatever. I don't even know what year the school was built, the high school, I don't remember. Couldn't have been that long ago. And now we're having the asset management to replace that is, I don't know, I wouldn't even hazard to guess if it's close to 10 million to replace that building.
Yeah, so that's the pool is probably a $3 million.
Right, right. So is that maybe make it a little bit clearer?
It does. Yeah, it does. It's a lot to wade through. I appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot of understanding all these, and then who you have to ask and talk to and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so is everybody good with that then? Do you have anything else to say on that? No? Okay. We'll move on to new business, and this is about the fitness center hours and equipment. Commissioner Ellis would like to start with this discussion. And I'm just going to tell everybody I've had a lot of phone calls over the hour change. And it's not from kids, it's from adults that are saying that they're losing out. I don't use a fitness center, so I'm asking Andrew to take, because he does use a fitness center, so he'll have maybe clear my mind up in a lot of this information. All of us. She can hear through the speaker.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm under the understanding that they changed the hours to bring in the youth from 3 till.
Sorry, through the chair. We were asked by the commission to change the hours to.
I just wasn't part of any of it, so I'm not.
Oh,
sure.
it actually happened at budget time. I'm pretty sure you were.
But I was offered surgery.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, maybe I'm confused. They changed it from 3 to 7 Monday to Wednesday, and I was under this understanding that they have a program that they've ran in the past that they bring the kids. They have a program for the youth from 4 to 5 that's free. It's paid for by the community center.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
There was a program before.
Yeah.
Before the hours were changed, which as far as I know, and because all I got was this very small description, I have no idea what we were going to be talking about. But there was a program before, and this wasn't last year. It was probably the year before where there was some funding to have someone there to open up earlier. But the earlier that they were opening up, I believe, was at 3:30. So there was some funding for that, but as far as I'm not aware, unless Tricia, you are, I am not aware of any funding that's funding part of it being open.
I know that they had the kids would come in from 4 to 5, and they had a free hour. But
So we don't
know about that.
No.
Okay, well, I was just curious why they're changing it to bring the youth in from after school, so they're not hanging around. They get them in, they get them out. But then they have the 2 days a week where they have a program through the Salmo Valley Community Center, or I don't know what it is, where they pay for an hour, but it's the 2 other days. So they're promoting, they're wanting to get the kids in early and get them out 2 days, but then the other 2 days, they bring them, they're encouraging them to come at 4.
So can we?
have no idea.
Okay.
Can we? I'm thinking that maybe Trish might. Can you tell us what the actual hours are for fitness right now? Like what are for September? What are they
So, well, I can tell you that.
Or you
I
can.
got it right
I wrote
here.
it down too.
Yeah, it's, so there's the morning times, which are 6:30 to 10:30 a.m. Monday to Thursday. 3, and so in the afternoon, it is, that's a really bad way of just, sorry, that's a different issue. 3 to 7 on Monday and Wednesday, 4 to 8, which are the traditional hours.
Yeah,
On Tuesday and Thursday, and Friday is 4 to 8 as well. Saturday morning is 6:30 to 10:30 a.m.
and Sunday's closed.
And Sundays, yeah, always been closed.
Okay.
Is there any, like, I don't wanna, I think the hour change is good to get the kids in there, but is there any way that there is increasing the service level where they can add an hour instead of taking it from, or moving it? Is
So-
that a possibility?
At budget time.
Yeah.
In November, we can, if the commission wants, we can present that option. So right now, what was funded
Yeah,
in the budget is that total number of hours. So that's what was funded, and the choice was made through, so there was is it a letter from the school, or, I can't remember, there was an initiation by somebody outside of, something outside of the commission.
It was the school that was,
Yeah,
I had many meetings with the school.
And we're locked in because we can only afford so many hours.
Yeah.
It's
so.
not a question of increasing hours, it's a question of giving some robbing Peter to pay Paul.
So this was the trial. That as at 3 to 7. And we can definitely present options in November, but at this time we don't have funding to increase the hours.
I'm afraid that the hour change.
We're gonna keep, well, and through the chair, I've been tracking Salmo a little bit, and I've noticed a decrease. And I can't say why, just that I've noticed.
Any special age range?
Sorry. Through the chair, I can only look at it, I only have the time to look at it at the very, I watch the finances, and when I see, I'm just seeing a trend in the finances.
Can we check to see? I mean, we do have that information someplace, don't we?
We have some of that information.
Okay, perhaps we could check in, because we do have budget coming up in November. So if we have that age range and find out, well, listen, what we're losing right now is kids or adults, we can make some adjustments to bring them back and make sure. Of course, sometimes these things happen because there are other things happening in the community.
Yeah.
Like when the library is having special programs, our attendance drops, that kind of thing. But that doesn't, the other thing is what we should be doing is finding out and then making adjustments to suit so that we're going.
Oh, okay, Trish would like to speak.
Oh, thank you. Through the chair, I just wanted to add that I think it was said, I may have missed it, but that hour change just recently was implemented on September 2nd. And so the idea was that it was a trial, and I believe in the report where this was discussed, and it looks like it was back in May where we started talking about it, was that this would be a review period. So even just to maybe keep everyone in commission aware that even at budget time, it will be challenging to gauge the pros and cons with this change, because we will only have had, roughly 6 to 8 weeks, give or take, of that change being in effect. So just for awareness, as we move through that conversation, and certainly to keep your ear to the ground for feedback. That's very important to both help with budget deliberations, as well as, deciding that a service level change is required versus maybe some other shift in the hours that are currently allotted. Thank you.
Okay, so I would just like to add a little bit so I spoke with Laura Stavis and tried to, because my phone, my ear doesn't have to be to the ground because it's getting hot. Because the concern is that what adults are saying is that if I can't get those 2 days, because it's too hard to get home to be able to get changed or have supper or whatever, and then get to the gym for a 7 o'clock. And I don't know what it's like in there. I have no idea. That they won't actually buy a membership because they can stay in there, because that's the unfortunate part of Salmo is we leave our community to work and then come back and hopefully use our facilities that we have in the community. So I'm now, Laura said that there was that and maybe Susan can help with this, is that they spend about $150 a month to help with, they get an invoice from RDCK to help with students that can't afford.
So that's might be different than opening early. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
that they, and so if we, I don't know what it would cost if we got rid of that, because we have through the RDCK a program that people can apply for. And why is Salmo not having to apply for it? Why are we just expecting the youth center to pay for it?
Through the chair, I don't know. The leisure access program is
Yeah.
promoted throughout the regional district.
That's right.
But the leisure access program does not provide free access. It just provides reduced access maximum. So it does not, it's 50% of a pass or an admission up to a total top end. So if that 50% was 150 and that was for 6 months, that would be the entire allotment for the year.
So this is each month, 150.
Yeah.
And so we can all understand is what she told me is she thinks that a child's rate is $3 drop-in.
Child's rate is
Or youth, sorry, it's not child,
I
it's
don't
youth.
have the monthly,
Yeah.
I have a monthly and graphication.
Because this is not, she said this was paying for drop-in youth.
Yeah.
That's what the $150 was, is paying for. She says, so there'd be like 50, if it was $3, that would be like 50 drop-ins. And I can't imagine that there's 50 different kids dropping in.
I may see the chair. It's assumed that if you haven't got the money to drop in, you're certainly not going to get a membership. And most people who have a membership don't fully use their membership. They don't go every day of every week that they can get in. I mean, well, really sort of the thought was that, well, let's make it so that the people who need help can get it for the times they want to be there.
Yeah, so through the chair. So youth are $3.15. Adults are $6.29 plus taxes. 10 punch pass is $28.35 for youth and $56.61 for adult.
Which is the same as a monthly.
Same as a 1 month, like any full access. Yeah.
If I may through the chair to Andrew, what have you noticed and what have you heard with regards to the new hours?
People that, like Diana was saying, people that work out of town are gonna choose to stay out of town opposed to coming to Salmo or home and working out because they don't have the time after they get home
You know, just,
to make it into their own time.
and they were under the old system.
Yeah.
Okay. And well, my second question is, this is always a careful one, and I know you probably don't have the answers, but how many people are we really talking about here?
Like they use it altogether or
Or the ones that are saying, listen, I can't make it anymore. And is that, because the reason for my question, Andrew,
Yeah.
is that, okay, are we gaining more by getting more kids or losing it by losing some adults? And what can we do to do that? What's the best thing for us to do? That was my question
okay.
in the long and short.
Yeah. for every adult you lose, you need two children, you need two youth. In my household alone, I have 4 adults. Or, like, and that's just myself, and there's many other help people in town that, like,
So I'm wondering, with this amount, because I don't know, this would have to be staff talking with Laura or something. Like, how can we make it that, because I don't know what it costs per hour to run the fitness center, because we're talking 8 hours a month, right? Is that not what we're for?
No, you would be talking about adding two hours per week, because we're only
Times
would be
4,
changing.
8.
Yeah, so it would be 8 hours. Sorry,
8
per month, sorry. I think in weeks.
Okay, let's say
All
2
right.
hours a week, but in a month, or even in a week, like, I don't know what it actually, as a commissioner, what it costs us to actually run the fitness center for an hour. Do we have any kind of an idea of what that looks like?
So just to know how fitness centers work, they don't work, it's not like someone comes. So for example, staying open till 8 may increase the number of people you have, but it's actually the staying open till 8 that's the advantage. So what that means is, instead of someone having to be there at 5:30 and maybe leave at 7, that same person is coming at 6:30 and leaving at 8.
Mhm.
So it's not like there's necessarily people coming at 7 o'clock. Probably the primary issue is you can't finish by 7 o'clock.
Right.
So it's not this perfect number where there's 5 people per hour. So when we did it, so that's it's a small amount. It's probably I don't know. It might be with benefits and for everything between $35 and $40.
Okay, that's what I was looking for,
It might be. And again,
$40
an hour.
an hour.
and there's 8 hours, right? So it's
Yeah.
like 4 times 8, that's $320 a month.
Yeah, and then so it just so the original intent so at the time, the question wasn't so much about how people were paying, whether there's a youth coming and the Salmo Valley Youth Center is paying for that admission. That's irregardless of it. It's still the admission. The point of the change was that the commission at the time, because it was brought forward that there was a concern that the kids were having to around, I don't know what time schools are, about 3:50 or something. Susan, I'm not sure if you know what time the high school is out,
Like
but there was this,
45 or something like that.
but there was this gap
Mhm.
that was there. And the school asked if the center could be open at 3. So we'd already committed the budget.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can extend the hours. It's just that we all need to be, that may have negative financial consequences. So at the time of the decision was, let's open earlier on Mondays and Wednesdays. I think staff even did a kind of a comparison that said that Tuesdays and Thursdays were the busiest days. And I mean, I can't remember, Tricia, have you got that report open? I can't log in from here. But I think there was some evaluation. It was like, well, if we're going to try it, do Monday and Wednesday. So we could add those hours back in. We could promote, Diana, how many people do you think you've?
6 or 7.
6 or 7?
And I don't know if some are, because I don't know some of the names, so I don't know if some are related in the same household, if they're different people.
So what we can do for you is you could do the exact same thing, maybe do a little bit of changing what we have on websites and in publications, and check in with staff because we have the staff. But we could start something. I wouldn't want to say that we could start it any earlier than 2 weeks.
Right, so I have a proposal.
Mhm.
As we were talking about funding and stuff like that, is that I put forward to my council, because I have to have council, unlike Director Cunningham, he can spend that money whenever he wants, wherever he wants. I have to put it forward to my council and to put forward for $1,000 to put forward to keeping. I don't know what it's going to cost, right? But that would be covering if it's $40. Like you as staff would have to figure out how much that is. That if we said 40, that's what I went off. It's $320 a month. So I rounded it off at $1,000 is to get $1,000 to put into this budget out of the community development budget to be able to extend the hour back. Don't take those 2 hours away. Extend that hour back and see what we have as we go into budget season into January.
So through the chair, we could also, if commission directs staff to do so, we could extend those hours back. We could report in November what it's looking like. And then you could have the consideration of community development if it's required.
Through the chair, how many instructors do we have at the fitness center through the day? How many fitness instructors?
So I don't have the schedules in front of me. There's usually only one person for the time we are. So Sam usually is working in the daytime. So she's usually covering off all of those times and then doing the other administrative work that needs to be.
Because I was thinking maybe starting a couple hours later and let them cover the extra hours in their regular time.
Yeah, I know. It's because they're starting at 6:30 in the morning. Can't quite make it.
Unless we get into overtime, we don't want to do that.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is instead of going to overtime, if you had two, start one at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning, and then.
No, we're not staffing.
And if I may, through the chair, I don't have funds for this kind of thing. My funds come at budget time, and when they're budgeted, that's what I've got. The funds that I've given to Todd is out of a capital budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not, or that's capital. If you want to put another basketball thing up there or another climbing wall or more something, then come and talk to me about it. But I don't have funds for operation other than the funds that happen when we pass the budget, and they will take it next January. That year.
This would cover October, November, December.
Yeah, all I'm saying through the chair is just that you're running it as a trial period right now. So the 3 o'clock is still a trial. It's just that we're taking a chance that we're going to have the user fees to cover.
Right. And in case that we're going to have to do something and budget time.
And then that just can be handled many different ways. We can't budget to go into a deficit, and we shouldn't manage to go into a deficit. But we can also take calculated risk, and so we can definitely take the calculated risk. And that's okay that there's feedback. That's part of the reason why for the trial. It's part of the reason for the trial.
Trials. The other thing is, of course, is that with this new passed bylaw, the updated bylaw, there will be more funds available next year if we wish to tax to that level.
Correct. Absolutely.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So
Can we have staff be able to monitor? I don't know how you do this, but there's some kind of a there's this many youth from 3 to 4, from 4 to 5, from like, and also do it with adults. It's just a number. It's kind of like at the pool. Every time they go out, they count all of our heads.
Yes.
and they go and write that number down.
Through the chair, yeah, absolutely. The thing that number will tell you, feels like I was watching a murder mystery because it could be the exact same problem. What we know is we'll know when someone comes. We don't know when they leave.
That's right.
So like that's the one thing. Like so, like what you will see is a deceiving trend. Like because you'll see probably at 7:30 there'll probably be still people coming in, but as that's moving towards 8 o'clock, it's going to be dropping off. Because what's happening is those people are coming at that time to finish. I'm sorry, not 7:30. At 6:30, because they're coming to finish by it. So just to know that that's part of the problems that we know when people come, we don't know we don't necessarily know when they.
yeah, and sometimes you could close earlier.
Yeah.
And rearrange their funds because basically by that time most of the people have already left because they've done the thing.
Yeah.
Those are one of the things we need to check, of course.
So would that work for staff if I was able to? Would you guys be able to give us a number?
Yeah.
And because even if it's $1,200, I think that possibly I can convince council, because we want to make sure that we're not losing those youth. We want to keep them engaged if they're going to, because they're going to be the adult that will use it if we engage them now. But we don't want to lose those adults because they're flipping the bill basically. And we need 2 of those youth, and I don't think that we have that right balance. And again, in January, if the climbing wall opens, it may change again, right? Because maybe we don't need that 3 to 4 because they're doing the climbing wall and then they'll go to the fitness center.
Yeah.
So,
I would just say that if you've done a hard day of climbing,
You're not going to.
Can I?
Yes.
Can I just ask a question? So I'm curious about the idea of opening at 3 o'clock in order to service the youth if we know that they're not going to be getting there much before 4 p.m.
No, that's what the school asked, is that they're between 3 and 4, that the kids are hanging around with nothing to do.
Okay, so they're out at 2:55, not 3:55.
Yeah.
Got ya. Okay. I was so confused about this. Okay, got you.
No youth program that happens between 3 and 4. So the fitness center was trying to figure out how we could be filling in that gap, where that's what I was talking with Laura about, is how can the youth center possibly fill in that gap in that sense also. And that's when the $150 a month already, that's their gap filling basically. But it's not for an hour. So how do we, but I would like to maybe put an action item for staff to reach out to Laura to find out, or our staff, I don't know, why aren't the kids or their parents applying for the LAP, the Leisure Access Program?
Yeah, through the chair. Trish and I will follow up with
Okay.
Brian and with oh my gosh.
Down.
Sam.
Can I also just I think it would be interesting if staff are going to be talking to staff to have the conversation, and we did a survey with youth earlier this year around transportation. And I would be really interested to, have that question asked again. I'm curious about if youth are staying after school to access the fitness center, how are they getting home? How are they getting home at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock? Because the buses are gone, right? And how are they going to do that in winter when we're not riding bikes? I think that would give us a lot of useful information to understand that.
It's very interesting because growing up in this community, our fitness center was in the high school, in the same youth center that it is right now. And so we had use of the fitness center where the new high school doesn't have a fitness center. And so that's where I think that gap happened, is why they chose not to put that in the high school is I don't know that reason. And so now we as a community have to fill that gap of the fitness center that the school at the time of building didn't do. So the transportation has always been an interesting one for me to figure out how kids if they don't have anything to do from 3 to 4, what are they doing at 4 o'clock to get home?
That is a question. Like with my community center hat on, when we take a look at priority programming and things, that it comes up again and again and again around youth programming is how are they going to get in and out of the village? We can program all the things till the cows come home, but if 90% of those kids can't get in and out of the village without having a parent have to take that on, they're not coming.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, I was a bus student as a kid, and that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And but the thing was, what we did is, I played basketball and stuff like that. And what we did is, there was probably half a dozen kids in our neighborhood, and we'd arranged for one parent to pick us up. And so we basically carpooled, so to speak. And that was the way we arranged it, because the bus was long gone. And but there were a few times I did have to hitchhike, and I wasn't the only one.
And I get that, and I think that those strategies are probably in place, but I think the pandemic really upended a lot of that, and it hasn't come back, right? And really the idea, the question is just to, even if what we end up with is kids coming up with this idea, well, why don't we set up a carpool with a parent group? Fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Great. If that's what the question leads us to, that's great. I just think it's something to pay attention to, because it's something like on that other board that we take a lot of look at, right? Like, why aren't they coming? What was the transportation challenge? Was there a food challenge? Should we be providing a meal at the start of that program offering? Because, kids coming from school to go to the fitness center at 3, do they need food?
Right.
Maybe that's a thing the community center could look at, right? I just think there's lots of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Teaching them how to cook from 3 to 4, they can eat it and then they can go work out.
Oh yeah, that's a recipe for living on the floor.
So some of the action items I'm just going to reiterate is that the cost per hour to run the fitness center. So I will need that to be able to put a motion in front of my council. Speaking to Ryan and Sam about why parents aren't applying for the LAP, or whoever, I don't know, I'm not sure. And then speaking with Laura about other strategies that we can hone out, as Susan said, the cooking program, so they're full when they hit the fitness center.
You don't want to be full when you hit the fitness.
We eat afterward. Yeah. So through the chair, do we want to put them to direct staff to keep the fitness center open until 8 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday, and to implement it as soon as possible?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we can worry about the funding.
Could we do that as a direction?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'll move
yes,
it.
absolutely.
I'll move it.
Do you?
So I just
did you
have,
the motion written?
I just have direct staff to keep the fitness, to amend the closing time of the fitness center on Monday and Wednesdays to 8 p.m.
Good. I'll second.
Does that sound a reasonable task to do until January and revisit in January?
Yeah, we'll try to revisit in November so that we know what we're doing in January 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Just because if we don't, if we find out that from 3 to 4, no kid is showing up because they don't have transportation, they're waiting for their parent to come in, then it's a real simple thing, right? So to have that ticker of how many people are using the gym
right
each hour, I know you can't decide, but when you have 10 and all of a sudden now in the next hour you have 22 and then the next hour you only have 10, well, 12 people left at some point in that hour. Doesn't matter when.
Perfect.
Okay, so it was moved and seconded. Any more questions on changing that back, not back, but adding on that extension? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. We
Oh,
go ahead.
was there dumbbells put into the budget?
Oh, equipment. Yes, sorry.
I'll have to check. What do you just so there's some free? What are you noticing anything in particular, Miss?
It's not missing, actually, until the photo.
We're just looking at dumbbells of the equipment part of this conversation.
They're filled with spray foam and then painted to, you can see the paint's coming off and the foam is exposed now.
Thanks.
Are we talking about a dollar item here?
No,
Okay. Just asking.
$1 fix, but not a dollar item. Yeah. No, I'll check into that right away. Digital.
I can find one, yeah.
Can you just send my card?
Can you show Susan what you're talking about? Can you show her?
Yeah, can you email? Yeah, not now.
Can you show Susan your picture so that she knows what we were talking about?
It really doesn't
you
look
see
like
it?
that, Susan.
So Susan, it's just that it looks like at some point in time, an old set of dumbbells, one is a 70.
You might have to
Can't see
talk
the other
this
two.
way, Joe.
Oh, jeez, right, looking, one is a 70 pound, but it looks like they were attempted to be repaired. And maybe they must have been chipped out or something. Looks like they were filled with foam and then painted. I'm not exactly sure where that is something that we do on a regular basis, but we'll look into.
When somebody did it in the ancient history, they probably got it from some other school who donated them because they were broken.
So it's just an action item for you to look into?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. Anything else on equipment? I apologize, I forgot about equipment. Was that, anybody else have anything else about equipment at the fitness center? Hearing none. Okay, we'll go to public time. 8:28. I see a public picture, but I'm not sure. Do you have any questions for us?
Is that the public? Is that beautiful blue sky?
Yes.
Wow.
Hearing nothing, we're gonna move into in camera. So we'll have Elena, if you can, if the public, if you could shut off your streaming service, or we can have Elena move you out of the meeting.
Yeah, I would have our person move them out of the meeting. They can